You're listening to the 40 Fit Radio podcast, dedicated to the 40-plus community. Join us as we discuss the truth about fitness and health using science, reason, and the experiences of our host and content experts. Welcome to the 40 Fit Nation. Hey, welcome back to 40 Fit Radio, and welcome back to the 40 Fit Nation. I'm here with Coach Trent this morning.
Good morning.
And we are in the gym like we normally are. We have a studio in the gym. Actually, it's a separate office, but today we chose to leave the door open.
Yeah.
We're going rogue on you.
We're going to hear that.
And I don't mean
plate
as in
thunder
barbell
background
manufacturer.
Yeah.
I mean just gym rogue noise. For
yes.
You.
I've heard it referred to as the clattering of plates as plate thunder.
Yes. Plate thunder.
Now, unfortunately, we have nice clips here, and we have good plates, so they fit tightly on the bar.
No. Is that a Metallica song?
Thunder. AC/DC.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you know this. Yeah.
I know this.
No,
I know these things.
Yeah, I know these things.
I know things.
I think you're thinking of For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah.
It does kind of
that's
similar.
right. Yeah. I know things.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. What are we going to do? And we've got a bunch of topics lined up for you, but today we were thinking about doing a lifestyle episode.
Yeah.
A lot of the conversations here on the podcast are conversations that we're having every day with people that we train,
real life
people
stuff,
we run into. Yeah, this is real life. It's hard hitting, the truth.
In your face.
In your face.
Yes. Raw. Raw in your face.
Just, yeah. And so
he got a mental picture of me raw. It was kind of
I have to erase
threw
that
it in his mouth.
Yeah,
a little bit.
I need some coffee. Hold on a second. But yeah, so these are driven by conversations we have every day, and so one thing that has come up, and this is really a perennial topic. It's not really specific to the now, is habits. And most people ask us questions about nutrition specifically, but this really goes deeper than just nutrition and what you put in your mouth. This is a conversation about daily habits and how you create sustainable habits that will help you with your health and fitness and nutrition and body composition goals.
I think you said it perfectly, and I think that daily routine is what this topic daily routine is what this podcast is about.
I like that even better.
It's about establishing a routine.
Yeah.
Now, some routines can be bad. Some routines can be good. A routine in general is neutral unless you show me what it is and we can assess it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all different types of routines. But I think that when you start talking about elements of a fitness program, you start talking about things like exercise type or selection, set and rep schemes, intensities of those exercises, whether it be high intensity interval training or weightlifting or Olympic lifting or cardiovascular training. You start talking about all these different elements of a fitness program. You also talk about nutrition, rest, recovery, daily habits, stress relief, all these different lifestyle habits and different elements of a fitness program. But the reality is that the daily routine is the most important part of putting all these pieces of the puzzle together. In other words, your habits will drive your management of your program, your overall fitness programming.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that's important to consider here is that not only are your habits and your daily routine important, but also your educational foundation of what you know. Like I said earlier, I know these things. There are some things that we know here at 40 Fit Radio.
Right.
There are a lot of things that we don't know. But it is very, very important that you have, number one, good daily habits, and number two, that you have a basic educational understanding of what good fitness training looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I was just talking to my dad the other day, and he's asking me how things are going here at the gym. And so we were talking about that, and he's like, well, that's good. He's like, you really need to pull back on that weightlifting at some point. He's like, it's gonna tear up your knees.
Yeah.
It's gonna do it. I just know it. Have your knees started hurting yet?
He's giving you all, you know,
Right.
it's well-meaning advice.
Well-meaning advice, right? And you know what? I bet you he knows plenty of people who have torn up their knees,
right? Because he knows
lifting
these
weights,
things.
because he knows these things. But so he might have a good example of anecdotal data, but he doesn't have an understanding of what I do and what we do with our fitness, and that is that we know we've talked about the science here, which is that you got to use your body,
right?
It's not like this thing that you start with X amount of and then you use it up and it's gone. No, you have to use it, in fact, to keep it. And then also that you have to have a logical approach to what you're doing with your body for you to be healthy and not cross over into doing dumb stuff and getting yourself hurt. Right. I could tear up my knees squatting, or I could keep them healthier than they would be doing anything else. Right. There's two extremes here. Sure. And it's the understanding of what you're doing and having a little bit of knowledge and education that's going to allow you to do the right things consistently.
Right.
But yeah, I think what you mentioned, having that routine is so important because a lot of people want to talk about the program. They want to talk about the nuts and bolts and these programming variables, or they want to talk about macros, if it's talking about nutrition, or like, should I do this diet or that diet? And really the simple answer, the unsexy answer, is you just need a really solid routine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I heard a statement, it was a quote years and years ago in a business environment. And it was, the key to your success is hidden in your daily routine. And so the real impetus there is basically this. You know, everybody wants to make these big decisions. They want to do this program or that program, or you know, I'm going to
Whole30.
Yeah, I'm going, you know, keto, or I'm going this, or I'm going that.
Going keto.
And what'd you say?
Going keto. Oh man.
Going keto. And hey, I know some guys that have done really well on keto, but we need to cut that out for a little snippet, you know, going keto.
Going keto.
Yeah. So people want to do this or they want to do that, and they jump on this train or that train, and what they really need to do is they need to develop some basic daily habits.
Yeah.
You know, and stick with something for a while. Right. You know, we were talking about diet and nutrition. Hey folks, diet and nutrition is easy if you have the right habits.
Yeah.
You know, because I can tell you in a 5-minute time frame the types of food groups that you need to be eating in the general proportions that you need to eat them, and it's just not that complicated. Right. But the real question is, will you do it?
That's right.
It's the key to your success is hidden in your daily routine. So developing a daily routine and Trent said it perfectly earlier, and I'm just sorry, guys, it's not that sexy. It's boring. You know, I eat the same thing for breakfast every single morning. And I've probably been doing that for about 2 or 3 years now. Now, I might switch one element up in the future, but in general, the same balance of food groups are going to be there approximately.
Yeah,
you know?
I do the exact same thing.
It's just easy.
It's easy. That's right. And yeah, I was talking about this with some clients here at the gym that were kind of struggling with their nutrition, doing really good in their weightlifting, but they haven't really made the changes to see the body composition changes they want in the kitchen. Right. And talking to them, one of the things I noticed is that they're cooking different meals every day. And breakfast could be different every day. Lunch could be different every day. Dinner was different almost every day. Right, right. And I get it. Variety is the spice of life and all that. But because they don't have, by definition, they're not seeing the results they want, so they don't have good habits around their eating right now. Right. And they want to build good habits. So I said, you know, I think the best approach for you is to pick a few meals, and you're going to start eating the same thing every day for like 2 months, right? You need to just cut it all down to very, very little, a very limited palate. And then in the future, we can get back to eating more variety. This is not forever, but you need a hard reset here and start with breakfast.
That. Hard reset.
A hard reset.
Going keto.
Going keto. No, you need to go keto. That's
we're just joking.
Please don't go keto. But no, you know, so like every morning I eat some oatmeal with some protein mixed in, berries. I usually throw my creatine in there too. Yeah. But it's just it's easy because I'm getting that bolus of slower burning carbs. It's high fiber. Yep. I'm getting a big dose of protein in there. It's lower sugar. It's satisfying, and it makes sure that my metabolism's ramping up, all that good stuff. Right. But most importantly, because I'm eating the exact same bowl every day, that's not a factor anymore.
Right.
So when I'm thinking about making changes to my nutrition, I can go ahead and throw out breakfast because that's the same. It doesn't change.
Exactly.
Lunch is the same way. It doesn't change.
Right.
Dinner is usually in my household the one thing that changes. And so if I need to make tweaks to my nutrition, I can be like, you know what? I'm going to choose some leaner cuts of meat for my dinners. And that's it. That's one thing to think about as opposed to thinking about like a million factors.
Yeah, and I would say this too. I think a lot of people are looking for variety in their daily routine, and what they need to be looking for is variety in their leisure. You know,
right.
in social settings or when they're going out with their spouse or their significant other or out with friends or something. And then routine, just rote routine and something that works and that will help them achieve their end range goal. You know, I think if you look at any successful man or woman, you see a certain level of routineism in there. You see a certain set of habits.
Yeah.
And those habits kind of transcend different career paths, different lifestyle paths, and those habits are successful habits no matter who you are, no matter what you do. We have a young lady that lives with us right now in our home, and you know, I got up this morning at the same time that I always get up. I do the exact same thing. It's so boring. And I'm sorry that it's boring, but it just works for me. I walk into the kitchen, I pull 3 eggs out of the refrigerator. I pull a jar of unsweetened applesauce and a little bin of blackberries. I walk over to the same frying pan I use every single day. I throw a little olive oil in it. I drop my 3 eggs in, sunny side up. And then I go over and I start making my coffee and blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Versus she wakes up this morning and all of a sudden I hear this, pop, 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 pop. She's coming down the stairs. She's rushing over. I said, "Oh, you heading to work?" She said, "Yeah, I gotta go. She hadn't had breakfast.
Yeah.
She obviously just woke up.
Right.
And I told my wife, I said, "You know what? I think she would feel a lot better if she got up at a set time every day, if she had a set group of habits and a routine, and she came down and maybe she put a little something in her belly, a little something in her stomach to support her metabolism and her hormonal health and her mental health, because we know foods can greatly affect how we feel, not only physically but emotionally and mentally. And then get her a cup of coffee and rest for a few minutes. Have a nice little, even if she doesn't like to eat a big breakfast, just have a little bit of food, a little rest time, a little pause, and then out the door.
Yeah.
You know, but instead her day starts with a rush.
Yeah.
Day one.
Chaotic.
It is chaotic.
Yeah.
And I think fitness programs can be that same way too. We come in, it's hully-gully, or we go from one fad to the other fad, to the other fad, to the other fad, looking for the holy grail. And the reality is it's like a bad relationship. The problem is the selection process is poor.
Yeah.
You need to be selecting the right fitness regime with the right set of habits.
Yeah. And this is kind of the other element to it. So I think to wrap up on that first point, to me, the whole point of routine is to reduce your cognitive load. You know, you and I have so much we need to think about. We have to make all these decisions all the time. They might be really small decisions like, man, am I going to do this deliverable first or second? Yeah. Right. Well, whatever.
Fix the sink in the gym.
Right? You know, you've got this whole list, right? Yeah. And it's just never ending. You tick one thing off and then 3 more things come on the list, right?
Right.
And so why add more decisions to your breakfast and your lunch and your fitness? You know, if you're constantly having to think about, well, what am I going to do now? That's additional brain stuff that you've got to work on. That if you had a good routine that is just already taken care of, you don't need to think about what you're making for breakfast.
Right.
It's already there, and you've done it so long now. You've already got all the groceries there.
Right.
You don't have to think about what am I going to do, and that reduces your chance for error, and it also reduces the things you have to think about. Now you can sit there eating your breakfast and start thinking about your day and walking into the clinic with a fresh mind,
right? Because
you didn't have to scramble around for breakfast.
Well, I mean, we have 3 words in our gym on the wall behind 3 of our main racks in our gym. And those 3 words read from left to right: simple, hard, effective. And the reason why we have that is because simple is the foundation. If you look at any barbell program with clients that we start, whether it be remote or in person or however we're interacting with them, the first thing we do is we break it down to the simple. We make it simple. Why? Because it yields the best results.
Yeah.
People don't want simple. They want to sex it up. They want to make it complicated. I've got guys coming to me that weigh 185 pounds and they can barely squat over 200 pounds. They can press 100 pounds and they deadlift 250, 275, and they want to go to a 4-day split or some powerlifting program or some, undulating periodization, progression, Hey, why don't we just get through an NLP?
Yeah.
Let's just get through the novice program. You should be a lot stronger for this. In other words, you're buying a very risky investment, looking for a much higher rate of return, but you just need to do the basics.
Yeah.
You just need to do the basics. So I think that one of the habits that people have to develop in their daily routine is, number one, keeping it simple. And that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Lower the load on you cognitively, physically, emotionally, all those things, because it will need to get more complicated in the future.
It does.
Why complicated in the front end of the process?
Right.
And so a lot of people want to make that more complicated than it is. I've always been a very simple-minded man, a very simpleton type thinker, and I like the simple.
Yeah.
I love that part of what we do. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I've been training for years at this point. You've been training for decades at this point. But, some might think, it's like, well, your program must be super complicated at this point. It's like, no. I mean, we've got a lot going on in our lives. So that's actually, to me, it's like keeping my program as simple as I can is a blessing.
Yeah.
The thought of having to do like a 3-week microcycle in my lifting is just, I can't stand it, because then I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too complicated.
Yeah.
I can't keep track of it in my head. I've got 35 other people to worry about their programming. So I want mine to be simple.
Well,
and I think there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, once you become a more advanced trainee, you've developed more physically in your fitness program, the tweaks become smaller and the interventions become less frequent, but sometimes they have to be more intense to get gains.
Yeah.
I'm right now in my fitness program. My routine is I'm not interested in gains right now. I'm not pushing myself to that level to get gains.
Yeah.
It's just not where I'm at right now. So my goal is to maintain or improve some skill sets, improve mobility, reduce pain, maintain my strength, maybe even increase my strength in 1 or 2 of my lifts.
Right.
But I'm not going up on everything.
Yeah.
I'm increasing my press lately to try to get my press up some more. And so I think that people, they bite off more than they can chew sometimes, and they want to make it a lot more complicated when the reality is, number one, I need you to wake up on time each day. Number 2, I need you to have good nutrition. Number 3, I need you to show up at the gym. That would be really nice. Be regular in your program.
That's
show up
a big
at the
one.
gym. Number 4, have good recovery habits.
Yeah.
It's like the guy that comes to an investment broker and wants to do futures and put and calls and margins when the guy doesn't even have an IRA.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have a savings.
Right.
He's got 10 credit cards.
Yeah.
Keep it simple and focus on that daily routine.
That's right. Right.
So that was the first point. Now the second point was,
I think, and I think we covered a lot of this already, but the second point is having an understanding of what you're doing, even if it's just a basic one, because it's easy to get swept up in fads and the what should I be doing rather than the why, right? So we see this in lifting all the time. You could extend this to other forms of training as well. I'm going to go do X program. I'm going to do P90X.
Right.
And then I'm going to go do 531.
Right.
And then I'm going to go do strong
functional
lifts.
bodybuilding.
Right. I'm going to do a bodybuilding split.
Right.
Whatever the thing is, right? I'm sure there's equivalents in running. I'm just not as well versed in those.
Yeah,
but
cardio has the same type of stuff.
Same type of stuff, right? Yeah. So you're kind of cherry picking these programs, right? Without thinking about what am I trying to what's my goal?
Right.
That's a lot of people when I talk to them that have been doing this program to that program, this program, they've never actually sat down and been like, well, what am I trying to do? They're like, well, I want to be lean. Oh, I also want to be strong. Oh, I also want to be really fit. I also want to be really flexible. It's like, well, hold up.
Yeah.
Hold up. They want it all right now. And it's like you can't train for 8 things at once.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
You can't do it. So do you have an understanding of how, if let's say you do want all those things, okay, fine. That's fine. So do I. But you have to order them now. So it's like, okay, where would you start? If you wanted to improve like 10 different physical skills at once, where would you start? Well, we argue on this podcast, and if you go all the way back to the beginning, we argue that, you got to start with strength. If you're not really strong already, you got to have that foundation before the other ones can really improve.
Sure.
So start with strength. Okay, now we have a goal. I want to get stronger. Just focus on that. Forget about everything else for a second. And then do the things that will make you stronger. Hey, the novice linear progression is a pretty good way to do that.
Right.
Okay, so it's just simply figuring out, what am I trying to do here? What's the overarching goal? And then find a logical progression to get there. There's a lot of different ways to do this.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to skin that cat.
There's a lot of ways to skin that cat, but if you never go through that simple filtering process, you're going to be stuck bouncing from program to program or diet to diet or whatever it is without making that the progress that you want.
Right, the demonstrable change that you want. Let me just put it this way: if you have a foundational operating model where you think that you're going to get stronger doing yoga, then not that yoga can't make some parts of your body stronger, but when we're talking about real strength, then you have a lack of education there.
Right.
You have a lack of educational understanding there and understanding what generates strength in the human body from a physiological standpoint, what makes the muscle cell bigger and stronger. Okay. Now, if you think that weightlifting, though, is going to make you a supreme endurance athlete, like be really good at triathlons. Oh, it's part of it because you want to be a strong triathlete.
Yeah.
But eventually you're going to have to do some cardiovascular aerobic training too.
That's
and
right.
You're going to have to do some sport-specific training. You're going to learn how to cycle better. You're going to have to get a good bicycle. You're going to have to learn how to get fit to the bicycle.
Yeah, work on your stroke.
You're going to have to work on your swim stroke. You're going to have to work on your running technique and work on running theory and intervals and all these different things and be efficient. So there are many components to put that product together, to put that fitness goal or objective together. But the key is, like Trent's saying, you have to have an educational, foundational, basic understanding in what changes the human body. That's one of the things that we provide you here, and other great resources like Starting Strength, Dr. Jonathan Sullivan and Gray Steel and the Barbell Prescription. And there's a lot of resources out there. Barbell Logic is excellent at providing a good foundation of information. Barbell Medicine's got some great information.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good resources out there of information that is science and logic and reason-based that can really help you get the foundation that you need to then take those daily habits that you have and go in the right direction and yield the results that you want for your fitness program.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it amazes me, though, because you and I talk about this stuff as if it's everyday stuff. Well, it is to us because it's kind of our wheelhouse. It's our bailiwick. It's what we talk about every day, all day long. I mean, health and fitness is something I talk about every single day.
Yeah.
There's not a day that I don't talk about it. Even when I'm out at the ranch and I'm doing something else, I've probably had a conversation about fitness or health with someone because it's kind of what they ask me and it's what I go to.
Yeah.
But, you know, a good example would be I've got a guy, he and his wife are probably going to come in Friday night to the gym to check out the gym. He is a superintendent to a very large school district, and he has no idea what direction to go into to help him and his wife reach their goals.
Right.
He has no idea.
Yeah.
And this is a smart guy. This guy's a PhD in education. Now, the flip side of that is I have no idea how to run a school or a school district for that matter.
Right.
You know? And so we want to go to the experts or the expert information to help find the right direction to go into. But the key there is that there's so much information overload out in the interwebs and everywhere else that I'm not telling you guys to promote us. I'm just telling you to promote science.
Yeah.
Our foundational 10 principles are solid as a rock. The science supports them. The data is there to support them. And in the right level of moderation, it is the way to go. And strength comes first.
That's right. You know, and we're all going to have slightly different approaches, you know, between us and Barbell Logic. And, you know, we all have our own biases and we all have our certain approaches to things. But the principles underlying what we're doing are all the same.
Yeah, very, very similar.
And I like this, you know, so I have been doing this online Great Books program that I've talked about that our buddy Scott Hambrick runs. And we've been reading a lot of Plato. So this is kind of, we've read 4 of the Socratic dialogues by Plato. So this is really our first like footsteps into philosophy. And one of the things I love that Plato talks about is the whole concept. Well, I guess Socrates, right? Because Socrates is the character in all of Plato's dialogues. He talks about you don't have to know everything about a topic to understand it. On the flip side, you can know a whole lot of things about a topic and not understand it at all.
No, that's great.
You can know, hey man, I know this program and that program and that program and this program. I've run 14 different programs. You probably at that point know more programs than I do.
Right.
But you cannot understand anything about programming, even having done those. Whereas I don't have a huge library of programs, but I understand programming itself, the essence of the thing.
Well, you can develop any single program that you want for you or your client because you have the foundational principles.
I don't need a template
and the daily
or a
habits
program
to do it.
That's right. I don't need a template or a program.
Right.
I understand the fundamentals.
Well, that's the person who says, well, if A plus B, does A plus B always equal C? Well, not necessarily. Not always. It matters.
Yeah.
And that's the hard thing about fitness is that without a set of foundational principles and basic understanding of how the human body as a machine interacts with the world around it and how it responds to stressors and inputs and outputs and all that stuff, then it's hard to know if this is truth or lie. It's hard to know if this is a sell job, a fad and fiction, or if it's real science and real logic.
Yeah.
And I think at the end of the day here too, one of the things that's real important is not only do you have to have good daily routine, and not only do you have to have a good foundational knowledge base or educational base, but you also need to have a goal in mind. You need to know where you're going. We've done a whole podcast on goal setting, but you need to have a goal in mind and where you're going. And so I think that's the most important thing. I talked to a client yesterday that came into my clinic, and I've seen her before. She's one of Brent Carter's trainees out of Starting Strength Dallas, and she drove over to see me as a patient. And we're talking about her program, and I asked her, I said, okay, what do you weigh? She said, 128 pounds. I said, how old are you? She said, I'm 58. I said, what are you squatting right now? She said, I'm squatting for threes like 185. And I was like, 128 pounds, squatting 185 at 58
really
years. What do you deadlift? She said, well, I deadlifted 265 for a double.
Right.
I was like, okay, what are you pressing? In the 80s?
Yeah.
What are you bench pressing? 110? I was like, you're 58 years old. I said, you are stronger than 99% of your cohorts.
Yeah.
So I said, how do you feel? And she said, well, sometimes my hips and overall I feel good, but I was feeling really overtrained last year. Britt and I realized I was overtrained and I just wasn't feeling good. I was feeling beat up and tired and unmotivated. I said, yes, those are all the signs of overtraining.
Right.
Listen to our podcast.
Yeah.
And so part 1 and 2. And I said, but okay, how are you doing now? She said, well, I'm doing much better coming back from, the quarantine and everything. And I said, then you need to focus on one of your big goals is not only being strong, but feeling good.
Yeah, exactly.
We talked about that, feeling good too.
Yeah. This is something that, people,
it's another podcast.
That's another podcast, but it's, this is something that we've seen that people run into in the strength world. And in the running world, that's another big one. In the CrossFit world,
where every fitness
they learn one modality and they learn it really well and they stick to it and they do it consistently.
And if they have any drive at all, they drive it to its nth degree.
And you reach this point and you're like, you start breaking down or you experience overtraining or whatever the thing is. You lose motivation. I mean, there could be a lot of things that happen, and you're like, well, what do I do? And so you just try to keep iterating on the thing that you're doing.
Right.
And again, you've maybe missed the bigger picture of like, why am I doing this?
Absolutely.
You're like, man, I got my squat to 500, but now it's like my knees keep bugging me every time I get over this.
I can't squat down to pick up a bag of feed because my knees hurt so bad.
And you're like, okay, why are you doing this besides, powerlifting,
or being strong,
or being strong? Yeah. It's like, this is for health and fitness and feeling good too.
Yeah.
It's for the long haul. Okay. Well, then maybe it's not always about driving whatever your preferred modality is to the utter limit. Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes we're all guilty of getting a little myopic and our blinders on and only thinking about how do I get that next PR rather than looking at the bigger picture.
No, good points. Good points. So guys, remember, daily routine is the first key. Make sure that you have a basic set of daily routines. Hit your workouts. Make sure you're getting good sleep and rest. Make sure that you've got good nutrition to back up your training. Make sure that you have stress relief in your life right now. With what we've got going on in the world right now, especially in the U.S. We've got an election year. We've got this corona thing going on still, quarantine. We've got violence in our streets, differing views all over the map. We've got a lot of things going on that really stress people out. So find some ways training can be stress relief for you, but also finding some ways to meditate, use stress relief.
I recommend bubble baths. I take a lot of baths.
Okay, that's more than I needed to know, but yeah.
I'm raw when I do it.
Stress relief. And then also get a good basic foundational understanding so you can build those habits on the right types of things.
Yeah.
Because here at 40 Fit Radio, we know these things. We know things here.
We know things.
And we're trying to help you know things. So, guys, thanks for joining us today at 40 Fit Radio, and thanks for being part of the 40 Fit Nation. You can reach us, email info@40fit.com. Please info us questions, ideas. I just responded to an email from a guy in the UK this morning. So we love hearing from you. We will get back to you. We don't always have all the answers, and sometimes it just matters. But check us out also on Facebook, 40 Fit Nation. Check us out on Instagram @40 Fit Radio. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining us today. Go out there and build some daily routine and get that good basic understanding. 40 Fit Radio is a great place to start, but there's also lots of other resources out there. Thanks for joining us today, guys. Later.